The Peruvian War of Independence was composed of a series of military conflicts in Peru, beginning with Viceroy Abascal military reconquest in 1811 and the Battle of Guaqui, going with the definitive defeat of the Spanish army in 1824 and the Battle of Ayacucho, and culminated in 1826. With the Siege of Callao III, the Wars of Independence took place with the background of the 1780-1781 uprising by indigenous leader Tupac Amaru II and the earlier removal of Upper Peru and the Rio de la Plata regions from the Viceroyalty of Peru. Because of this, the Viceroy often had the support of the Lima oligarchy, who saw their elite interests threatened by popular rebellion, and were opposed to the new commercial class in Buenos Aires. During the first decade 1800s, Peru had been a stronghold for royalists, who fought those in favor of independence in Para, Upper Peru, Quito and Chile. Among the most important events during the war was the Proclamation of Independence of Peru by José de San Martín on July 27, 1821. During the Peninsular War 1807-1814, central authority in the Spanish Empire was lost, and many regions established autonomous juntas. The Viceroy of Peru, José Fernando de Abascal y Sousa, was instrumental in organizing armies to suppress uprisings in Upper Peru, and defending the region from armies sent by the juntas of the Rio de la Plata. After success of the royalist armies, Abascal annexed Upper Peru to the Viceroyalty, which benefited the Lima merchants as trade from the silver-rich region was now directed to the Pacific. Because of this, Peru remained strongly royalist, and participated in the political reforms implemented by the Cádiz Courts 1810-1814, despite Abascal's resistance. Peru was represented at the first session of the courts by 7 deputies, and local cabildos representative bodies became elected. Therefore, Peru became the second to last redoubt of the Spanish monarchy in South America, after Upper Peru, for Peru eventually succumbed to patriot armies after the decisive continental campaigns of José de San Martín 1820-1823 and Simón Bolívar 1823-1825. Some of the early Spanish conquistadors that explored Peru made the first attempts for independence from the Spanish crown. They tried to liberate themselves from the Viceroyalty, who governed for the King of Castile. Throughout the 18th century, there were several indigenous uprisings against colonial rule and their treatment by the colonial authorities. Some of these uprisings became true rebellions. The Bourbon reforms increased the unease, and the dissent had its outbreak in the rebellion of Tupac Amaru II, which was repressed, but the root cause of the discontent of the indigenous people remained dormant. It is debated whether these movements should be considered as precedent of the emancipation that was led by chiefs Caudillos, Peruvian towns, pueblos, and other countries in the American continent. The independence of Peru was an important chapter in the Hispano-American Wars of Independence. The campaign of succor in Upper Peru concluded in April 1825, and in November of the same year Mexico obtained the surrender of the Spanish bastion of San Juan de Ulloa in North America. The Spanish strongholds in Callao and Chile in South America fell in January 1826. Spain renounced all their continental American territories 10 years later in 1836, leaving very little of its vast empire intact.